You think an employee badge is just a piece of plastic you wear and forget about? At my company, one snip of scissors on that badge brought down 18 years of defense certification in minutes. The CEO thought he was protecting his daughter. His daughter thought she was revolutionizing the industry. Only I knew the system was waiting for one wrong move to lock them both out permanently. My name is Lance Williams. I'm 47 years old, and I'm the Senior Systems Architect and Federal Compliance Director at Titan Defense Systems. Our office sits in a cluster of concrete and glass buildings in Colorado Springs, where the Rocky Mountains meet the high-stakes world of aerospace defense contracting. For 18 years, I've been the guardian of our federal certification. Not because I'm power-hungry or paranoid, but because I understand what most people don't. In defense contracting, one compliance failure can destroy a company overnight. When I started here at 29, fresh out of the Air Force with a computer science degree and a head full of idealism, I thought building secure systems was just about writing good code. I learned fast that it's about something much harder: human accountability. My routine is the bedrock of everything we do here. Every morning at 7:45, I pull into parking space B12, same spot for 18 years. The security guard waves. He knows my face better than most people know their neighbors. By 7:52, I've badged through 3 security doors and I'm standing at the coffee machine in the break room. Black coffee, no additives. In compliance work, you learn to appreciate things exactly as they are. The first thing I built at Titan was trust. Not with management, but with the engineers and project managers who actually do the work. They know I'm not this compliance cop trying to slow them down. I'm the guy who keeps the federal auditors from destroying their careers. That trust took years to build, and it's worth more than any executive title. My first stop is always my terminal in what we call the cold wing, the secure section where our servers live. No windows, just the steady hum of cooling systems and the rhythmic click of backup power supplies. This is where the real work happens, away from the sales team's bright voices and HR's employee engagement initiatives. The air smells like ozone and electronics, and the temperature stays at exactly 68 degrees year-round. I designed most of the security architecture in this wing myself. Not just the software, but the physical layout. Every cable run, every access control point, every monitoring station. When you're responsible for protecting classified weapons schematics, you don't leave anything to chance. The federal government doesn't audit your intentions, they audit your results. My monitor lights up with the compliance dashboard, a grid of status indicators I've been checking for 18 years. Green means good. All green means we're still in business. For nearly 2 decades, the entire CMMC certification architecture has been bound to my digital signature, my credentials, my profile. Not just because I built it that way, but because federal law requires it. They need a human being who goes to jail if something goes wrong. Software can't take that oath. Around 9 o'clock, the requests start coming in. Wade Cooper, our project manager who always looks like he needs more sleep, appears at my door. Wade's been here 12 years and he's learned to trust my judgment even when he doesn't understand it. Lance, got a minute? Need your eyes on an email to the Navy Yard. Mentions the new firmware build. I take his laptop and read the draft. Wade's smart enough to know what he doesn't know. I find 2 sentences that are technically accurate but could trigger an audit flag. One mentions enhanced capabilities without specifying they're referring to processing speed, not weapons performance. The other uses optimized protocols, which sounds like we might have modified standard encryption methods. I rewrite them using approved terminology from our last compliance review. Improved computational efficiency through standardized algorithms and implementation of certified security protocols per NIST 800 to 171. That's what you mean to say, I tell him, handing it back. Man, Lance, you're a lifesaver. Coffee's on me tomorrow. Just file the draft in the project archive, Wade. The auditors will want to see the approval chain. An hour later, Drew Manning from IT Security sends me a message. Drew's 31, ex-Navy like me, and he understands that every shortcut you take today becomes an explanation you owe tomorrow. Weird flag in the access log. Port scan from an internal IP trying to query the archive. Before I lock it down, can you confirm this isn't one of your audit scripts? I check my automated tasks. Not mine. Lock it down, Drew. Send me the incident log when you're done. Copy that. Thanks, Lance. This is my world. Precise actions, verified steps, and respect built on competence. Wade and Drew don't respect me because I'm a director. They respect me because when the auditors come, I'm the one who keeps their careers intact. I've seen good engineers destroyed by compliance failures that weren't even their fault. My job is making sure that never happens to my team. But lately, the air in the building has felt different. There's been talk of a new initiative, digital transformation they're calling it. More consultants using terms like breaking down silos and agile frameworks. These words make my blood run cold. Breaking silos sounds like destroying access controls. Agile sounds like ignoring the protocols that keep us compliant. The change started 6 months ago when Scott Patterson, our CEO, announced his daughter would be joining the company after her successful entrepreneurial venture in California. Successful was generous. Her fintech startup had burned through $40 million in venture capital before folding. But she had an MBA from Stanford and ideas about modernization. I've been in this business long enough to know that modernization usually means someone with no understanding of federal requirements trying to apply commercial software practices to classified systems. It's like trying to run a nuclear reactor with smartphone apps. Today, walking to the break room for my 10:30 coffee refill, a routine I've maintained for 18 years, I see a new poster on the bulletin board. It's glossy and professional, completely out of place next to the usual safety notices and benefits reminders. The title reads, "Reimagining Operations with Next Generation Leadership." The photo shows our CEO, Scott Patterson, with his usual corporate smile. He's 59, been running Titan for 15 years, and until recently he understood that our business runs on trust with federal auditors, not venture capital metrics. Standing next to him is a younger woman I've never seen before, his daughter, according to the office rumors that have been circulating for weeks. She's wearing an expensive blazer over designer jeans and those shiny sneakers that cost more than most people's monthly car payment. Her hair is styled to look effortlessly messy in that way that probably costs $200 and takes an hour to achieve. Everything about the photo screams Silicon Valley disruption culture transplanted into a world where disruption gets people killed. This must be Jessica Patterson, the one who supposedly revolutionized a fintech startup in California before it burned through $40 million in venture capital and folded. According to LinkedIn, they were building a payment app for college students. They never touched a government contract. They never had to face a DoD audit. Their idea of compliance was probably just a standard PCI certification, something my team does in our sleep. Her new title, printed in bold letters under the photo, Vice President of Digital Transformation, a job created just for her, with a description that means everything and nothing. It's the kind of position you invent when you need somewhere for the boss's kid to land after their startup crashes. I've seen this movie before. Bright young executive with big ideas about efficiency comes in, looks at our outdated processes, and decides they can fix 18 years of careful engineering with a few PowerPoint slides and some cloud software. They never understand that in defense contracting, those outdated processes are the only thing standing between us and federal prosecution. The mandatory town hall is scheduled for this afternoon. I know this isn't really about operational improvement. It's about Jessica establishing her authority, marking her territory. The invitation says it's to discuss streamlining legacy workflows and embracing digital-first mindsets. Each of those phrases is a red flag. Streamlining usually means cutting corners. Digital-first usually means ignoring physical security requirements. The main conference room is packed when I arrive. I find my usual spot in the back corner where I can see the exits and everyone's reactions. Jessica doesn't walk to the podium. She strides like a TED Talk speaker who's about to change the world. She's wearing that blazer again with perfectly rolled sleeves and an expensive watch that screams disruptor. Thank you, she says, quieting polite applause. The junior managers in the front row are already taking notes, ready to write down whatever buzzwords she drops. It's incredible to be here, to help my father bring Titan Defense into the next phase of evolution. The slides behind her are all high-resolution images and aggressive fonts. The first one just says, Operation Phoenix, over a stylized bird rising from flames. I've been in enough corporate presentations to know that when they start naming their initiatives after mythological creatures, you're about to hear a lot of solutions to problems that don't exist. For too long, she continues, pacing like a caged animal, Titan has been doing incredible work with one hand tied behind our back. We've been weighed down by legacy thinking, by friction, by processes built for a world that no longer exists. Legacy thinking. There's the first shot across the bow. In Jessica's world, anything older than last year's iPhone is legacy. In my world, legacy means battle-tested systems that have kept us compliant through 8 different presidential administrations and countless budget cycles. She clicks her remote. The next slide appears. Kill the paper dinosaur with a cartoon T-Rex being crushed by a meteor labeled data. The junior managers actually chuckle. They think this is funny. We're moving to an agile digital-first framework, she says, her voice smooth and confident. We're going to break silos. We're going to innovate at the speed of thought. We're going to disrupt the old ways of doing things. Break silos. Disrupt. These aren't just buzzwords to her. They're a declaration of war against everything I've built. Silos aren't bureaucratic inefficiency in our world. They're compartmentalization requirements mandated by federal law. You don't break them. You maintain them, because they're what prevent classified information from walking out the door. Her eyes sweep across the room and land on me in the back. I'm not looking at her. I'm reviewing a printout of new federal data residency requirements, marking it up with a red pen. Actual paper, with actual ink, because some things are too important to trust to cloud storage. Legacy roles, she says, her voice dropping slightly for emphasis, will need to evolve or vanish. The message is crystal clear. The paper dinosaur in the back with the red pen is on the extinction list. A few people in the middle rows, mostly the new marketing hires, nod enthusiastically. Wade and Drew, sitting 3 rows ahead of me, suddenly find the carpet very interesting. She launches into a word salad about synergizing our data lineage and actioning our agility frameworks. Then she makes a mistake that tells me everything I need to know about her qualifications. She mispronounces CMMC, calling it CMMC letter by letter instead of the single designation it is. It's a tiny mistake that only I and maybe 2 other people in this room would catch, but it's like watching someone try to perform surgery while mispronouncing scalpel. She's read the marketing materials, she's memorized the buzzwords, but she's never read the actual regulations. She's never sat across from a federal auditor who can shut down your company with a single finding. When she starts talking about her last venture and how they revolutionized the compliance space, I almost laugh out loud. They took a process that took 6 weeks and automated it down to 3 hours, she says. They optimized everything. She's comparing the security requirements of a college payment app to the architecture that protects classified weapons schematics. It's like saying you're qualified to design nuclear reactors because you once changed the batteries in a smoke detector. When the presentation ends, there's a wave of relieved, slightly confused applause. Scott Patterson stands up and claps loudest, his face beaming with paternal pride. "That's my girl," he mouths to the CFO sitting next to him. As people rush for the door, Jessica works the room, shaking hands and dropping more buzzwords. She's moving in my direction, and I realize this isn't accidental. She's been watching me during her presentation. She knows I'm the one who didn't take notes, didn't nod, didn't buy into her vision of digital transformation. She cuts off my exit path with a practiced smile. "That was quite a presentation," I say, keeping my voice flat. "Thanks. Just trying to shake things up." She runs a hand through her expensive hair. "You're Lance Williams, right? The compliance guy? The custodian?" "Senior systems architect and custodian of record," I correct. "They're distinct functions." Right. "Look, I've been reviewing your department's metrics. Lots of manual processes, lots of paper." She gestures at the documents in my hand. "I'm all about automation. We can't be agile if we're dragging anchors." She leans in conspiratorially. "Do we really need a single dedicated person as custodian in 2025? Seems like a bottleneck, a single point of failure." I look at her. She's not asking a question. She's stating a conclusion she's already reached. She wants to replace a federally mandated human checkpoint with software she probably read about in a blog post. The feds need a person, Jessica, not a dashboard. They need someone who goes to jail if the data walks. The system is built on human accountability. Your software can't take that oath. Her smile vanishes, replaced by cold annoyance. This is someone who's not used to being contradicted, especially by a department head who's not even a VP. "Well," she says, suddenly brisk, "that's the legacy thinking I'm talking about. We'll have to agree to disagree." She turns and walks toward her father, leaving expensive perfume in her wake. Back in the cold wing, I check my dashboard. Still all green, everything stable, verified by L. Williams. For now. But something's bothering me, so I dig deeper. I check the provisioning logs that show when new credentials are created. There it is, an entry from 8:05 this morning, just before the town hall. A new user credential, J. Patterson, was granted view-only access to our staging environment. I pull up the training certification database. To get any access to that system, you must complete a 4-hour mandatory course on data handling and legal liabilities. A course I personally must administer and certify. Jessica Patterson's name isn't on the list. Her father gave her a key to the vault without bothering to teach her which way the door swings. That night, at 1:30 a.m., my phone buzzes with a high-priority alert from a monitoring script I wrote years ago. Someone is attempting repeated failed authentication against our vendor risk portal. The attempts are sophisticated, cycling credentials, trying to find a way in. Then at 1:54 a.m., the attempts stop. A new log appears. A temporary administrative account linked to the executive sandbox has successfully authenticated. I trace the IP. It routes to the newly configured executive block, Jessica's office. She's not just looking at staging anymore. She's in the live portal, picking locks in the dark. An hour later, a new email pops up from Jessica Patterson. Subject line, mandatory review of obsolete controls. It's a meeting invitation for 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. My name is the only one on the required list. The next morning's meeting feels like a setup. Jessica has pastries and fancy coffee arranged like we're old friends. I decline both and wait for her to make her move. "This is about the future," she says, clicking her remote. The wall display shows complex charts I know she doesn't understand. I've identified a significant risk vector. Our entire compliance architecture hinges on you. She clicks to an org chart with a red circle around my title. In modern tech, we call this a single point of failure. One person. If you get sick, quit, or get hit by a bus, the whole system breaks. I let the silence hang for a moment. "You're using the wrong terminology, Jessica. The Pentagon doesn't call a certified individual a single point of failure. That's startup language. In their world, the custodian of record is the single anchor point. A failure point is a bug. An anchor point is a design requirement." Her face darkens. The smooth performer vanishes. "That's just semantics, Lance. We can build a better automated system that doesn't rely on one person's badge." She leans forward, trying to intimidate me with her presence. "If your system is so fragile it would collapse because of one employee badge, maybe the problem isn't with me. This is it." She's telegraphing her move, showing me exactly what she plans to do. I look her in the eyes. "You won't like the system's answer, Jessica. If you try to remove me improperly, the architecture will interpret that as a hostile takeover and execute a security lockdown." She scoffs. "Is that a threat? It's a log entry. Systems respond with data. 2 days later comes the Operational Evolution Summit, mandatory for all operations leads." The email says it's about actionable synergy optimization, which translates to corporate execution theater. I know this isn't a summit. It's a public firing squad, and Jessica needs an audience for her performance. The main conference room is packed. Jessica paces in front wearing her uniform, the blazer, rolled sleeves, expensive watch. She's feeding off the nervous energy of the junior managers she's seated in the front row. "We must be faster," she says, chopping her hand through the air. "We need agility. We cannot be chained to the past. We must stop trusting only people and start trusting our systems." She finishes her slides about digital transformation and opens the floor for discussion of the new draft policies, which were sent out only an hour before the meeting, a classic power move to prevent preparation. My hand goes up. Her smile becomes a thin, bright line. "I'm looking at the new draft policy," I say, holding up the printout. Section 4, subsection B, changes the mandatory log retention from 12 months to 60 days. Jessica waves dismissively. "Right. We're cutting the fat, streamlining. 60 days is plenty in a dynamic cloud environment." Federal Acquisition Regulation Supplement 703 clearly states that all access logs for DoD contracts must be retained for 1 full fiscal year post-contract closure. Our current 12-month policy is already the bare minimum. 60 days is a direct, flagrant violation. The room goes absolutely silent. I haven't just disagreed. I've cited chapter and verse, and everyone knows it. Jessica's face goes dark. The smooth, charismatic performer vanishes, replaced by a spoiled bully who's never been told no by someone she considers beneath her. "You're quoting regulations that are decades old," she snaps. "This is the cloud era. Who's actually checking 12-month-old logs anyway? Nobody. It's bureaucratic sludge." "Patricia Kane," I say, naming our lead federal auditor. The name lands in the room like a block of ice. She is, and she will. When she finds we've been systematically purging evidence logs, she won't call it agile. She'll call it spoliation. She'll issue a stop work order. "You are the bottleneck, Lance," she shouts, pointing at me. "You're the friction. You're the legacy thinking." She starts walking toward me, not fast, but a slow, deliberate, theatrical approach. She's coming down from the front, moving toward my seat in the second row. Everyone in the room can feel what's about to happen. Before I can even process her intention, she reaches out and grabs the lanyard around my neck. She yanks hard. The safety clasp snaps open, and my badge swings from her hand, my own face staring back at the crowd. "This," she bellows, holding it up like a trophy, "is the problem. This physical credentialing, this single point of failure. She turns to the supply cart, grabs heavy scissors, and holds my badge taut. "We are not dependent on a single badge anymore," she says, dripping with condescension. The scissors come up. Snip. In the dead silence, it sounds like a gunshot. My badge clatters onto the polished conference table. The room is frozen. She's waiting for me to break, to give her the reaction she wants. Instead, I stand up slowly. I look at the severed lanyard, then at her. "You just notified the system that the custodian of record has been removed outside procedure." I turn and walk away, leaving her standing there with her scissors and her smug smile, not knowing she's just triggered the very protocol I built to protect us from people exactly like her. The moment those elevator doors close, I know what I've left behind. A suffocating silence and the creeping feeling that something irreversible has just been set in motion. No one in that room understands what Jessica just did. They think they witnessed a corporate power play. What they actually saw was someone cutting the power cord to an $450 million operation. My phone starts buzzing before I reach my car. By the time I'm sitting in parking space B12 for what might be the last time, it's in full seizure mode. Messages flooding the internal system. "What's happening? The portal is down. Everything's red." One message cuts through from Drew. "Lance, where are you?" The main compliance dashboard just went from green to yellow to orange. Now everything's flashing red. Says custodian unassigned. I've never seen orange before. What does unassigned mean? I don't reply. Replying would mean I'm still part of the conversation, still responsible for fixing their problems. Instead, I open my personal terminal app. Black icon, no name. Something I built for myself years ago. I type a status query. White text scrolls across black. Checking module. Handshake failure reason, code 801.44. Named custodian revoked attempting re-authentication. Failed federated link, severed system lockout initiated. There it is. Named custodian revoked. The system I designed 18 years ago doesn't understand nuance. It doesn't know what scissors are or comprehend corporate politics. It only understands binary logic. The authenticated custodian, the one whose digital signature is baked into every protocol, has been forcibly removed from the chain of command. Protocol aeigs-x has executed exactly as designed. I can picture the scene in the cold wing right now. Drew saw the first warning light. By now, every monitor is Christmas tree red. Glenn Hayes, our CTO, who hasn't touched a command line in 15 years, is probably sprinting from his executive office, screaming at engineers who are staring at screens in pale confusion. Who did this? Who deleted the role? I want names. Who touched the goddamn architecture? And the engineers, the ones who actually understand how it works, are just staring because nobody deleted anything. Nobody changed the architecture. Jessica Patterson, with her Stanford MBA and her shiny scissors, took a pair of office supplies and cut a person. The system registered it as a hostile takeover. My phone lights up with a new email. Not from corporate, but from the Federal Audit Registry. Subject line, status certification invalidated. The message is short and devastating. This is an automated notification. The federated handshake with Titan Defense Systems vendor ID 88A4C was terminated at 10:32 a.m. MST. Reason? Named custodian chain broken without mandated 90-day succession buffer. All system access from this vendor ID suspended pending manual review. Do not reply to this message. 18 years of certification, gone. Invalidated in the 4 minutes it took me to walk from the conference room to my car. Another email pops up, this one from HR. Lance, it appears there has been a misunderstanding regarding your employment status this morning. Please return to the building immediately so we can clarify the situation. Clarify the situation. She cut my badge thinking she was cutting a person. She didn't realize she was cutting the power cord to the entire building. I drive to a coffee shop 2 blocks away. Generic place with bad art and good Wi-Fi. I buy a large black coffee and find a corner table. Thanks to a panicked IT admin who CC'd the custodian role instead of checking who actually held it, I'm logged into the emergency federal compliance call as L. Williams, external. The call took 45 minutes to set up while I watched the panic unfold through forwarded emails. Scott Patterson's first message to Patricia Kane had a subject line that reeked of forced calm. Minor system anomaly. Patricia's automated reply was instant and cold. Your certification is invalidated. This is not an anomaly. This is a level 1 breach. Mandatory emergency call in 30 minutes. All statements will be recorded. Now they're all on screen in their Brady Bunch squares. Scott looking like he aged 10 years in an afternoon. Nicole Foster, the general counsel, pale and furious. Glenn, the CTO, looking like he might throw up. And Jessica, sitting next to her father but with an empty chair between them, a physical representation of the chasm that just opened. Patricia Kane appears in the center square. She's not in a fancy office, just a government cubicle with gray fabric walls. She looks like a high school librarian, and she's the most dangerous person they'll ever meet. "This is a recorded line," she begins, her voice flat and carrying absolute federal authority. "Emergency compliance call 774B. For the record, I have Scott Patterson, Nicole Foster, Glenn Hayes, and Jessica Patterson. Is that correct?" Scott clears his throat. "Yes, Patricia. Thank you for making time. We seem to have a small technical hiccup." "Stop," Patricia says. The word is a command that cuts through Scott's attempted spin. "Mr. Patterson, your certification is invalidated. That word has specific legal meaning. Before any remediation discussion, I have one question. Who removed the name custodian this morning?" The silence stretches forever. Scott's eyes move slowly to look at his daughter. Jessica looks scared for the first time since I've known her. "Look, I think there's a misunderstanding of roles," Jessica starts. "We were simply realigning responsibilities for more agile." "Stop. Do not use corporate buzzwords. That is not an answer. I will ask again. Who removed the custodian?" Nicole Foster tries to build a legal firewall. "Ms. Kane, this was an HR matter. Mr. Williams left the organization this morning. He was terminated?" Patricia asks directly. The silence is crushing. Scott has to be the one to answer. "It was a performance-related issue." Patricia nods once and types for a few seconds. "Thank you. That's exactly what I needed to hear. Your CEO just admitted on a recorded line to terminating the custodian without succession protocol. Federal acquisition regulation mandates a 90-day buffer. You breached your own approved policy." She takes a breath. "Your certification is invalid. I'm upholding the automated finding. Any attempt by your systems to access restricted portals will not be logged as failure. It will be logged as active breach behavior and referred to the Inspector General." The screen goes blank. I close my laptop and sit in the coffee shop, watching normal people live normal lives. 3 hours later, my phone rings. Scott's assistant, voice trembling. "Lance, everyone is hoping you could come back just temporarily to help us understand what's happening." 10 minutes later, Nicole's email. "Urgent emergency compliance assistance request. Critical system-wide failure. Immediate assistance required." I spend the afternoon in my garage sorting tools. For 18 years, I carried the weight of that company's promises to the federal government. Now I'm just a guy organizing his workbench. At 7 p.m., I write 5 sentences. "I am not an employee of Titan Defense Systems. My employment was terminated this morning. If you wish to retain my expertise as external consultant, my rate is $800 hour. I require a 10-hour minimum retainer payable in advance, plus full legal indemnity. I also require a formal document stating my termination was retaliation for opposing non-compliant policy changes." At 10:40 p.m., Nicole replies, "Accepted. All terms accepted. When can you be here?" The attachments include indemnity agreements and Scott's shaky signature admitting unauthorized retaliation they deeply regret. The next morning, I park in the visitor lot and get escorted past my own security system. In the executive conference room, I spread out my engineering diagrams and explain exactly what happened. I issue orders for system lockdowns and policy rollbacks. I demand board minutes naming Jessica's violations. When Scott refuses to crucify his daughter, an investor appears on screen. "We're not funding family dynasties. Show absolute honesty or we liquidate our position." Both Pattersons resign. The company accepts massive contract reductions. I become independent compliance architect with final approval authority over all changes. Walking out for the last time, Scott waits by the elevators. "Come back full time. We'll fix everything." I place my temporary visitor badge on the reception desk. I don't belong to a system that only respects me after it nearly burns down. My phone buzzes with an email from a competitor. "We heard what happened at Titan. We're interested in how you built a system that punishes arrogance that efficiently. 18 years of building the perfect system. One pair of scissors to prove it worked exactly as designed.